G'day, welcome to another big edition of the Ballarat Football Netball League Footy Show. Thanks to our friends at Macca's. I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. Thanks for coming on board.
Thanks for having me.
Now, we've got some great semi-final action this weekend, all at City Oval across Saturday and Sunday. We've got one of the more intriguing matchups of 2018. We've got East Point and Melton for a spot in the grand final.
I don't think many people would have predicted these two teams would be playing off in the second semi for a grand final spot at the start of the year. So they've both been massive improvers. East Point clearly the best side all season, sealed up top spot with a number of weeks to go. And then Melton, who's the informed team of the competition, they've won I think 7 or 8 in a row, and they've beaten some good sides along the way. Obviously Lakers last week, they ended Sunbury's finals hopes. They beat back a smash, so they're having some good wins as well, not just against those lower sides, and they've shown some really good form, so it's going to be quite an interesting match. Well,
essentially, if the Bloods do get up in this weekend's big game, then if they're going to win 10 in a row, it's going to be the big grand final, so look out, that is going to be fantastic. I think one of the, as you know, I love the romance of the final series. Well, we've got these two teams fighting off for a spot in the grand final. These two teams did not make finals in 2017.
Well, I think this is Melton's first final since 2011, and they're looking to get into their first grand final since 2005 when they beat the Sunbury Lions back then. So it's been, and that was the last time they've beaten Sunbury Lions until recently. So it's been a massive season for the Bloods. We're seeing the development that's happened in the last few years has finally come to fruition. East Point, as you said, didn't play finals either. So it's shown how far the competition has grown, how far sides have developed, and we're not just having those 3, 4, 5 sides now that are playing finals. We're getting sides that are coming up, they're improving, they're making those inroads, and we're seeing different sides have an impact. Obviously the last 3 premierships have all been won between Darley and Bacchus Marsh, and both those sides were in last year's grand final, but we're seeing those different sides starting to step up.
And what it does add more intrigue to is that last year's preliminary finalists have already been bundled out, so that being Lake Windermere and Bacchus Marsh, two of the powerhouses. Well, actually they finished 1 and 2 last year, so for them to be out of the equation, we're seeing a transition here, which is very exciting. Both those teams did make finals, of course, but this just it adds an excitement and the element of the unknown.
It is, and obviously with these two teams coming to this match on very different results. You've got Melton was in front all day against Lake Windermere, only sort of kicked ahead early in that last quarter, but were leading all day, and had they kicked straight, they could have had a much bigger lead.
Correct.
And then you've got East Point, who had to come from 24 points down at 3/4 time to get the job done, and only won by 1 point in the dying seconds of their game against North Ballarat City. So be interesting how much that game took out of East Point as well. Obviously a lot tougher, probably a lot more physical game to get to that point, and whether that comeback it hurts them in the end, but I reckon it'll be quite an interesting match.
Your tip for this one?
I'm going to go Melton. Obviously the form they're in at the moment is quite incredible. I don't think anyone predicted that, and the way they've just knocking off teams, they've got that excitement about them, and I think everyone's very intrigued about what they can do.
Yeah, I'm going to tip Melton as well. I've had the privilege of seeing them in the last 2 weeks. I've only seen East Point for a half, and they played some pretty good footy there, so I like what they've displayed. But I think Melton, their last 2 weeks have been absolutely exceptional, and of course you can catch that game on 97.9 FM right throughout the day there. And the next big game, which is on Sunday, it is North Ballarat City and Darley. These two teams did meet off in the first elimination final of 2017, with Darley going on for a big win. This time around, City probably they're the better side across the year, and we'll go into this with a little bit more confidence, just based on the fact that they missed opportunities last week.
Well, you would say that, but then Darley's flying the last couple of weeks. So these two sides did face off in the second last round of the season, and North Ballarat City demolished Darley.
Yeah. And
speaking with Heath Scotland, he said basically they sat down after that game, they were very disappointed and go, that's not the way we want to play football. Only 2 or 3 players sort of really stood up, and since then they've got back to that really team environment, that team atmosphere where players are stepping up. They've probably got 5 or 6 out of their best side who aren't returning this year. So they've had obviously they had their reserves win the flags last year, so they've got players stepping up. Obviously they'll probably be missing Jake Edwards as well, who's got a hamstring injury, looks likely to miss the rest of the season. Might get back for a grand final if they make it that far, but there's another one added to their injury list. But they've found players to step up, and that's probably been the key to them this year. North Ballarat City, they want to bounce back after probably a demoralising loss on the weekend. They probably thought they were headed to the second semi-final, and in the end fell short at those dying seconds and end up now in the first semi-final. So it's going to be quite an interesting match.
I look at it from different perspectives, in the sense that Darley lose, then we see, I think basically it was at last year's from 8th, 7th and 6th, they'll be the last 3 remaining teams in the finals race. the last time Darley won a premiership, they finished 4th the next year, I believe, and that would happen again should they go down. But you're right, Darley. That last quarter was inspiring, and they say if you're as good as your last quarter, well, you're going to carry that form naturally into the next game.
Yeah, it is, and obviously both of those teams played good last quarters. So you say that carried in. Darley kicked 6 goals to nil, and East Point came from 24 points down. So if you're saying that it's going to be a cracker game, both these teams played really, really good last quarters. So it'll be interesting how it goes. You look, North Ballarat City, can they bounce back? Darley, can they keep the momentum going?
Yeah, exactly right there. Your tip for this one?
Look, as I cover Darley, I'd rather Darley get up, unfortunately, for North Ballarat City there, but I think it'll be a cracking game. And look, Darley has hit form at the right time, and we spoke about it in one of our different leagues. You just have to hit form come finals time, and they look like they're a team who's done that.
I think you actually sold it for me there. I'm gonna get behind Darley. They are in form at the right time. That win in the last round of the home and away season just gave them that little push towards just that confidence. It is amazing, just that win in the last round of the home and away season, what benefit that can do for the rest of the finals campaign.
And you're talking about a win against East Point as well, so not just any win, a win against the minor premier, so they take a lot of confidence with that.
Absolutely. Well, it shapes up as being a fantastic weekend of football. Make sure you're listening to 97.9 FM to catch both senior games. We'll have all the details that you can stream online. Thanks to our friends at McDonald's. Tara, thanks so much for jumping on board, and we'll hopefully catch up with you next week.
Thanks for having me.